Hello, smart testers. How are you doing? So, today we are again back with a new session. It's all about agile methodology, like how we learned in the last video. So, today I'm going to discuss top 5 interview questions that I've been asked on agile methodology or agile model. So let's discuss one by one. It's very simple. Like by now you are clear like how agile methodology works, right? So just keep that aside and see and focus on the interview questions part. Okay. First question, like as you've already projected that you have agile methodology, the first question you will be asked is what are the advantages that you see in this methodology? First and foremost important point here is client is super duper happy. So why is client happy? Because agile itself relies on the concept where we accept requirement changes continuously, right? So we are honoring client's request here. That's the reason client or the customer is super happy. So once the customer is satisfied, we are happy too. So your first point should be your client is super happy. And coming to the next point, transparency is maintained. Why is transparency maintained? Because the entire team is getting involved from the day one. So you know what sprint planning session is all about, what they are discussing, all the stories will be discussed. If you have any questions, you can talk to them. You have daily stand-ups. So whatever blockers you have, you can discuss there. So in this way, nothing is like, going back, like, no background work is being done here. Everything is like, open. They come to the stand-up, they talk about blocking issues, they talk about what they have done yesterday today. So you are on the pace with what the project is going on. So that's the most important point. Transparency is being maintained in this agile model. And the next one is collective work. So why are we saying collective work? Because we all work together here, not like, unlike we just sit and write our test cases. We don't know what the developer is doing, and if the product owner or is coming up with a new requirement, like until you see email, you don't know what the change is about. So it's not like that here, right? We all meet every day, we all talk about what we are doing, so we are doing the work collectively. So when we are doing a work collectively, definitely success follows. So you can project this point as well. And coming to the next one, increased control over the deliverables. So what does this mean is everything in agile is prioritized, as I told you in my earlier video when we are talking about agile model, right? So we the product owner, he prioritizes the backlog list, and he tells what is important and what is what should be focused for that current sprint. So how does he prioritize? He know what is being mostly used in the real time, like what he wants. So when we are delivering, like we have a control of what is being delivered. So here, like whatever the most priority items are, those will be delivered to the customer. So in fact, this is mostly like you can relate this with the first point, because we are delivering what he wants, the client is happy. So we have the control over what we deliver. Faster returns, again the same thing, like because we are delivering what he wants based on the priority the product owner is giving, we have very fast return on investments also. The last point is fail fast. So this is tricky. I am saying fail, and I put it under the advantages point. So for this I have to tell you what happened in my earlier project. So we had a project where we developed UI and also the web services. It was like three sprints, two weeks each sprint, and we worked for 6 weeks, and we gave a demo to the client. So what happened? The client was extremely happy looking at the UI, and all our 6 weeks effort. He was like super duper happy, and he said he would talk to his team and get back. Like he has his own a team which has to agree upon buying the product, right? So he said he'll get back, and a week later he got back saying that he liked the product, but they can't buy the UI because their application, because of the rules that they have, they can't put my frame, like whatever we are selling them, into their UI. So he said he doesn't need UI, he only need web services. So these are all like $1 million projects, right? So when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars of projects, these things are so critical that uh, he said like he doesn't want, you see, if the same thing has been implemented in the waterfall model after 1 year of your project, if the client says that he doesn't need UA, all your effort will be waste. So here in this case only 6 weeks is getting wasted, like half of it is wasted, because web services, they bought all the web services, they say that they are extremely happy, but because of some limitations they cannot embed whatever UI we are giving them in their particular site. So we are okay with that, but again we recovered very fast, right? Within 6 weeks span we came to know that client doesn't need anymore, so we just closed the UI door and we only focused on enhancing the web services. So in this way, like though you failed at the beginning, the recovery is like soon. Usually what happens, these are like very cost effective, right? Projects, they involve lot of time and lot of cost to build any software. So if something like this happens because of the agile methodology, like we just recovered fast and then we focused on what client wants. So in this way, like even the failures are again adding to your project, like they doesn't involve lot of wastage of human effort, like or also the money. So in this way you can project this, and unless you are cornered to say this specific point, don't mention. I just told you this example so that you can relate it when the interviewer actually asked you this question. So these are the important points or the advantages of agile methodology. So the next one is explain the difference between waterfall and agile. Again, we discussed this in the last tutorial where I explained agile methodology. So the main difference is waterfall is always sequential. So everything is step by step there. So later at some point in the testing phase, if the requirement changes, you have to change your requirement specification document. Design document has to be changed. Developers has to change the code, and then you have to change your test scenarios and so the test cases. So the process involved is like huge if there are any requirement changes. But whereas in agile always welcomes requirement changes. So you can honor, like any time whatever the request the product owner is coming up, you can take it. Now the third question, can you change the length of the sprint in the project? So wherever you see, like you must have come across that sprint length is 2 weeks, right? So this is nothing like it's a fixed length of the sprint. So when your interviewer asked, like if you will there be any changes to the length of the sprint, you should say, like you can say that yes, definitely, based on what the project management team decides. So it's your product owner and your scrum master's decision. So what happens usually is when they begin the project, they'll decide based on the domain. So for example, financial industry is very critical, right? So some financial projects, they don't want like number of releases, so they want to limit the number of releases, so they limit it to like wow, 4 week sprint. So sprint length of the sprint can be 4 weeks. So it is all based on how your project team decides. So usually, ideally, it should be 2 week sprint, but again, it's your based on the project specific decision. So again, the agile concepts will be same. So they still follow stand up call, sprint planning, everything will be there, but the length will be like it will be like project specific. So when you are asked about this question, you can say that yes, definitely there can be like change in the length of the sprint based on the necessity or the requirement of the project team. Now, how to deal when you get last minute requirement changes? Yes, this is the most important question. So because we welcome requirement changes anytime doesn't mean that 2 days before your sign off, if you get a requirement change, you have to honor the request. It is your decision completely. So whenever you get any requirement change, you have to keep in mind that you thoroughly understand the requirement change, and then you see what are the impacted areas. Okay, with this requirement change, what is the impact on your application? And the third one is, now you have to decide based on the impact whether you are having enough time to test this change. So if you satisfy these 3 points, only then you should be okay for this change to accommodate in the sprint. At any time you feel that no, this is not going to work out because I have very limited time, and the amount of testing that I have to do is more, you have to stand up for yourself and raise your voice that no, I cannot accommodate this. So you have a full liberty to talk in agile. So whenever you meet on the stand up, you have to tell them that this is what is my opinion. I feel that though it is development wise, maybe it's a small change, but for me to accommodate this, I definitely need more time. Then your product owner and your team will decide whether they have to accommodate it with in this sprint, or push it to next sprint. It's their decision, but voicing out your concern is your duty. So if you're satisfied, not that every time we have to stand and say that we don't want to accommodate change, but if everything is fine, suppose the impact is very less, of course you have to honor the request and test thoroughly and sign off. So it's all about agile. So when you are asked about how do you deal when you have these last minute requirement changes, you have to tell these 3 points. You will thoroughly understand the requirement, and you will see what's the impact of that change in your application, and then you will see whether the time is enough for you to test this change. All right, and the last one is retrospective. Yes. So, do you think retrospective meetings are important? Yes, definitely. You should say that the retrospective meetings are very, very important for you, because they help you to improve your process. So every time after sprint, whenever you as a team all sit together and discuss what happened in the last sprint, how well we performed, and if there are any issues, why are these issues, and how can we recover these issues in the next sprint. It is always the best practice. So in the next sprint, you'll make sure that whatever you faced in the last sprint, you're not facing those issues, and it always leads to the success of the project. So these are the five important questions, and the most frequently asked questions when it comes to agile methodology. So if you have any questions, please post them in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Happy testing, guys. Talk to you in the next session. Have fun. Bye bye.